metric so he can jump from lily pad to lily pad without hurting himself.
All right, maybe he should try some Balance of Nature, rub some Balance of Nature on those ribs. Oh, yeah, it makes everything better. No, all kidding aside, when you give your body the best possible fuel, meaning fruits and veggies, you have more energy, you're stronger, you think more quickly. But a lot of people aren't getting enough fruits and veggies on their own, and that is where Balance of Nature comes in. 31 whole fruits and vegetables, no preservatives, no dyes, GMO, gluten-free, no chemicals. The fruit capsules are red. The vegetable capsules are green for a reason because they take the fruits and veggies, they turn them into a powdered substance after an advanced vacuum cold process, which really stabilizes the maximum nutrient content. So feel better, get the nutrition your body needs. Call this number, 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago or simply go online to balanceofnature.com. Discount code Chicago.
Sean Thompson here for my friend Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group. There aren't many people who would knowingly leave their job to start another job for a 30% cut in pay. And yet, people do it every day when they enter retirement. Why enter the exciting new chapter of your life with less money? Why trade the stress of work for more stress in retirement? Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group can help. Just call Tom at 630-934-1855 for your complimentary, customized retirement. It addresses many of the big questions you may have, like what to do about Social Security, managing your investments, and how to create income you can never outlive. You can downsize your house, but don't downsize your lifestyle. Get a complimentary, customized retirement plan at 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. That's alphawealthgroup.com.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, RWA, an SEC registered investment advisor. RWA and Alpha Wealth Group are independent of each other. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
AM 560, The Answer.
Real quick, Chris and Lamont, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Amy. Good morning, Dan. You were going through that list a few moments ago about things that never happened. I remember in 1972, I was a senior in high school. All we heard about was 1/3 of the United States are going to be covered by glaciers by 2020. It was unbelievable.
Well,
anyway, thanks, guys.
Bye.
Brainwashing begins early. They're scaring kids, trust me.
This should be a topic, actually, for Wednesday night's debate. We'll talk about Wednesday night's GOP presidential debate with Selena Zito at 6:36.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Nikki Whaley for Mike Scott.
Good morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley. The 39th President of the United States is apparently in the final chapter of his life. Those were the words of former President Jimmy Carter's grandson on Saturday. The Carter Center announced in February that the 89-year-old former president was being placed in around-the-clock hospice care after a series of hospital stays. Prosecutors are expected to rest their case in the perjury trial of long-term chief of staff of former Illinois House Speaker Mike Madigan. Timothy Mapes is charged with lying to a grand jury in the federal probe that led to Madigan's indictment last year in a racketeering case. He served as Mapes' chief of staff from 1991 until June of 2018 when he was ousted following allegations of harassment. Over the last week of testimony, prosecutors presented dozens of secretly recorded phone calls, internal emails, and other documents. News is a service of Salem Surround, providing your business with industry-leading digital marketing strategy designed to surround your target audience and drive action. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka sees more phony charges.
It is said that Lavrenti Beria, the founder of the KGB, his motto was, "Show me the man, and I will find you the crime." We have arrived at that point in America. President Trump solicited actions to guarantee that the 2020 elections were fair. That was his crime.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
My son was saying, "Mom, why are you paying so much for this? The supplement store has the exact same thing." And I said, "No, they don't." You know, because he was telling me that they have similar products as Balance of Nature. But then when he came over to my house and he looked at the label of the Balance of Nature about all the, ingredients and everything, he realized, oh yeah, this is a superior product.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
There are more than 50 million people enslaved in the world today. Most of them are women and children.
They lock you in cellars or in rooms with no windows. 95% of girls that are born in the brothels remain trapped in the brothels for the rest of their lives.
SOS International is working to make freedom possible for these women and kids. And with your help, today can be the day another victim comes into freedom.
By the hundreds, we are saving those girls and bringing them to a secure place, a place that is a safe home for them to grow in.
Just $150 makes freedom possible for a trafficking victim. It provides shelter, food, counseling, everything they need to start a new life. Make freedom possible now. Visit 560theanswer.com/SOS. Every day that goes by is another day of suffering and abuse. But you can change it now. You can make today the day of freedom and rescue. Learn how you can bring freedom now at 560theanswer.com/SOS.
1 in 4 car batteries is weak and needs to be replaced. Let the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts test your battery for free. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak taking a look at the roads. Problems this morning eastbound on the Reagan as there is a crash between York Road and the Tri-State. Now it is in the left lane on the exit ramp to the northbound Tri-State. Crews are trying quickly to reopen that. Just know that you will be stuck in that scene. Eden's going in 20 Lake Cook Road to Montrose. On the Kennedy inbound side 30 minutes, and from O'Hare to downtown. Express lanes are slowing as well, and that is right around Addison to Armitage. Inbound Eisenhower 30 minutes, and from 390 to the post office. Stevenson tight going in central to Kedzie at 30 minutes as well. Going in on the Dan Ryan, no complaints, although express lanes tight Pershing to the Stevenson. Traffic is sponsored by Blindster.com. Blindster.com can help you save big on custom full wood blinds, shutters, cellular shades, and more. Shop Blindster today and save up to 50% over comparable blinds from brick and mortar stores. Get custom blinds at low prices and free shipping at Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Less humid and some hazy sun. Our high today 82, partly cloudy, humid night, low tonight 70, partly sunny for tomorrow, and the high at 90. A big warm-up coming on Wednesday, sun, patchy clouds, and hot, the high 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Fox Valley Coins. No waiting, no problems, no charge for in-store verbal appraisals. Bring your gold or silver in today. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I've been more skeptical than some, maybe even most, on the Republican side about the prospect that Joe Biden gets switched out for another candidate. And David Brooks, New York Times columnist, President Obama's favorite Republican, which is to say, not a Republican. David Brooks on PBS over the weekend saying that Democrats essentially should tamp down this who are we going to get to replace Biden rap, because we Democrats, I mean, he would say they, I would include him, we don't know what we got. We don't know how good we got it.
There's a lot of problems with Joe Biden running for re-election. His age, primarily. His approval ratings are low. But anytime you look at some alternative, whether it's the mystery moderate from the Midwest or Gavin Newsom or anybody else, things start unraveling really fast. And so the Democrats are lucky, frankly, to have a candidate in Biden who has presided over an incredibly strong economic recovery, who has presided over pretty good international peacemaking efforts, both in Asia this week and also in Europe, and who I believe whose numbers will go up as inflation recedes, as it is, and the strong job numbers are there. And they're extremely lucky to have a candidate, frankly, who's not a member of what you'd call the coastal elite. And Joe Biden sends off all the right cultural messages for moderate independent voters who don't have college degrees. And Democrats are not grateful enough for what they have, in my view.
Not thankful enough for what they have in the big guy, Mr. 10%. You know, and by the way, I think that is actually the posture that Republicans should be taking. We did the same thing in 2020. Joe Biden is senile. Joe Biden is hiding in his basement. Joe Biden can't be the nominee. Joe Biden can't win the election. Well, rather than lowering expectations, raise them. Joe Biden is a formidable figure. He won a campaign running from his basement. You know, he's got an economy that's defying expectations because of all the funny money sloshing around. But regardless, in terms of how people view this, yeah, if inflation comes down a little bit more and I still got my job, then maybe I stay the course. It's a little bit more complicated. Joe Biden's numbers aren't great, but neither are Donald Trump's, particularly in suburban areas around urban centers in swing states. Rather than poor-mouthing Biden, you should be building him up, because don't you want him to be the nominee, Republicans? For more on this, pleased to be joined by Selena Zito, national political reporter and author of The Great Revolt Inside the Populist Coalition, Reshaping American Politics. You can always check out her writings at selenazito.com. Selena, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
What about this? David Brooks, Democrats, we don't know how good we got it.
Well, one of the things that I believe, and obviously proved to be true, was that Donald Trump never particularly thought that Joe Biden was a formidable candidate against him. And he didn't have he always understood that Hillary would be, and he kind of respected that. But with Joe Biden, he has been insulted that he lost to Joe Biden.
Sleepy Joe.
Right. And so what he did, which was a complete miscalculation, was, to your point, downplaying him and sort of ridiculing him. And while Joe Biden had plenty of things you could have run against in 2020, he didn't choose to do that. And I thought that was a foolish way to go after him. And he did the same thing in the 2022 midterms, when he went out there for the candidates that he, made sure won primaries, which I don't think were very good candidates, in particular in Pennsylvania and Georgia and New Hampshire and in Arizona. And all he did was talk about Joe Biden, and it didn't work. And so when something doesn't work once, okay, maybe you try it again. But this is the third time, and there's plenty of ways to go after Biden, but he's not chosen to do any of them. And that's a problem for Republicans if he is the nominee, which, by the way, I'm still not convinced he's the nominee. I know I'm the only person in the country that thinks that, but...
You mean Biden?
No, I mean Trump.
Oh, you're not convinced that Trump isn't the nominee?
Even though the recent poll has him up 20 points?
Well, that's in Iowa. Before we get to Trump, what about Biden? Where are you on Biden? I mean, because I keep asking. We asked Bret Baier this on Friday and stuff. Like, do you get a sense the scuttlebutt is starting to tamp down, that it's more likely than not Biden's going to be the nominee? And Bret Baier is like, no, I think it's about the same as where it was a few weeks ago. So I think it's still a pretty dicey proposition. I don't know. I get the feeling that it isn't so much.
I'm not convinced either man is going to be the nominee for their party. I don't think anybody is inevitable. Now, that doesn't mean they don't end up being, but I do believe, to your point, though, that some of that has tamped down. But then you have an instance where he ignores what happened in Hawaii for a week. And people are then reminded, well, did he ever go to East Palestine? Well, no, he didn't. Did he ever apologize for what happened in Afghanistan? Well, no, he didn't. So not only does he have all of these other flaws, he does not have the empathy that people were sold that he possesses.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's something that I expect some Republicans should pick up on the debate on Wednesday night.
Yeah, and gas prices are crazy. I just drove across the country.
What were you seeing?
When I left, they were, and between the time I left and the time I came back, they went up 40 cents a gallon. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but do we know why? I mean, I just... it bewilders me. I mean, right now, gas in the city is $5, and if you get premium, it's $6.
That's impossible for the average person to be able to sustain those kind of costs. Not even considering what's the impact is it going to have on our supply chain? What impact does it have on our farming, on our truckers? This is all going to be passed down to all of us.
Now, you just mentioned about Trump. What are you hearing? Because I know you travel the country. What are you hearing from people about President Trump and his re-election campaign?
This election is very much in flux. Yes, he's leading right now. He's leading substantially. But voters are still, they're conflicted in they feel sort of a sense of obligation to him. They also feel a sense of defending him, but they also want something new. And so that's why I'm not convinced that he, and they're split equally on those sentiments. So, I'm not convinced at this moment that he's the nominee because of how voters feel.
You think it matters whether he's skipping the debate on Wednesday night?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm of two minds on this. If I put my strategist hat on, which, by the way, I don't own one, but if I put my strategist hat on, I would tell him, absolutely don't go. It makes no sense. However, when I put my voter's hat on, and that's who I mostly report on, voters want they feel that they deserve to hear what he would do, how he would go forward. They want to know what's going on in terms of how he would handle a country, which is very different from when it was 4 years ago. And if he doesn't voice that, and if he's unable to take attacks, that does not sit well with voters after a while. Maybe you skip the first one. But second, third, he said this weekend he's not going to do any.
He's not going to go to any GOP primary debates.
That's not fair to the voters.
Nope.
That is absolutely not fair to the voters. You can't spend your entire candidacy on social media, posting without taking hits and taking questions and from voters, but also from your peers that are running against you.
Somebody who does have a strategist hat, but maybe he should have it removed, is Jeff Rowe, who is the chief strategist for DeSantis' Super PAC. And he posted this memo online, and I understand, you post things online when you run a Super PAC to signal to the campaign or to signal to supporters to do this or that. But posting this debate strategy memo with recommendations how DeSantis should deal on stage on Wednesday night, where he includes things like portraying Ramaswamy as a conservative in name only. He should defend Trump by saying the president is too weak to appear on stage with everyone, so leave him alone. He should pull out a personal anecdote about his family and show emotion. If DeSantis then does any of this, he looks like an automaton. And I mean, so DeSantis presented the best conservative reform record. I'm a huge Ron DeSantis fan, have been since he was elected. But I mean, this campaign is really underwhelming, to be generous. I mean, he is, to me, in Scott Walker territory right now.
Well, first of all, there's a reason why Jeff Rowe is running the Super PAC and not the campaign.
Yeah, because there's more money to be made at the Super PAC level.
There's more money, yeah, maybe, but maybe also Ron DeSantis didn't hire him.
Yeah, fair.
And
but he still wears the jacket for it, that's the problem.
I have very strong sentiments about Mr. Rowe, and I will keep all of them to myself.
That doesn't sound like they're strongly positive.
Y'all can draw your own conclusions.
Okay, all right.
However, I can name on one hand how many elections he's won. So.
But I mean, but the larger point about the DeSantis campaign, and this is again something else like with the ad that they did, a couple ads they've done, where DeSantis still has to respond to it. They still wear the jacket for it, and so you would think with this much runway and this much money, you would have the best team available, and it just doesn't seem like that's the case right now. And not to mention, like Ron and Casey notoriously keep their own counsel. So, they have to wear some of the responsibility for how this is proceeding as well, if you think it's proceeding badly, which I do.
Maybe. I don't know that it's proceeding badly.
Okay.
Because I've seen it where it counts. And where it counts is on the ground. And where it counts is on the ground in Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina. And there is a very different story than what you see in the national news. And what you see in the national news is often fed to the people doing the news by Donald Trump. All of a sudden, he has gone from not talking to the national media to picking up the phone and saying, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? Look, Donald Trump went to Iowa and he was there for less than an hour. That doesn't cut it with Iowa. And he brought a bunch of people from Florida. Well, why? Other than to troll Ron DeSantis, how do you earn a voter there? How do you win an argument about why your best way forward is? DeSantis and so is Tim Scott and is going out there and they're shaking hands and they're talking to people and they're going to low-key events that doesn't get the national press because it's not bombastic and it's not hair on fire, and yet it's meaningful for the voters. There's about 120,000 people that will decide who wins the Iowa caucus on a cold January night. And it's going to be the people whose hands were shook, who someone made an argument to them why they would be best to serve the country as the president. And I don't think a flyover is ultimately how you win Iowa. He didn't win Iowa the last time,
right?
Meaning Trump.
Do you think that this is Ron DeSantis is the only one who could depose Trump, who could stop Trump, or do you think like a Tim Scott or a Ramaswamy will potentially have a moment?
I think there is a potential at this moment that Ron DeSantis will win Iowa. Chris Christie will win New Hampshire or Vivek. And Tim Scott will win South Carolina. All of a sudden, everything changes. And Donald Trump hasn't shown up for one debate. All of a sudden, everything changes. So we are a year away from the RNC and DNC nominating conventions. I think we are going to see a lot of things in that year. And I don't think anybody is inevitable.
She is Selena Zito, national political reporter, author of The Great Revolt Inside the Populist Coalition, Reshaping American Politics. And you can always get her writings at selenazito.com. Selena, thank you as always.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show. More Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having nationwide access with an annual deductible of only $226. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part, my guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 28-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts, knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
My son was saying, Mom, why are you paying so much for this? The supplement store has the exact same thing. And I said, no, they don't. You know, because he was telling me that they have similar products as Balance of Nature. But then when he came over to my house and he looked at the label of the Balance of Nature about all the, ingredients and everything, he realized, oh, yeah, this is a superior product.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Cable news. Noisy, out of touch, on repeat. Tired of all the lookalikes? So are we. Salem News Channel is here to change the game. Streaming 24/7, free on your TV with the greatest collection of conservative voices. Home to Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Like you, we say what's wrong and what's right. Unfiltered and unapologetic. Salem News Channel. We're the answer to the mainstream media. Learn more at snc.tv. AM 560. The
All right. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Venture capitalist David Sachs on the Ukraine war and what the United States should be doing. We'll bump up what Sachs had to say to what Dakota Wood from the Heritage Foundation thinks at 7:07.
Today, mostly sunny, a high near 83 degrees. Then tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 68. It is now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Catastrophic and life-threatening flooding. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. That warning from the National Hurricane Center as heavy rain hits Southern California from what was Tropical Storm Hillary. Some people are calling to be rescued from high water. There are roads washed out and power outages. 911 lines are down in Palm Springs, Cathedral City, and Indio, California. There's a federal response in place.
FEMA's Deanne Criswell says even though it's something the American West Coast doesn't see often, she believes California is ready for the effects of Hillary. On CBS Face the Nation, she said FEMA will be poised to help out.
If it does exceed what their capability is, we're going to have additional search and rescue teams, commodities on hand to be able to go in and support anything that they might ask for.
Criswell also says FEMA is watching its disaster funds, which estimates show could be depleted by September as Hawaii and possibly states affected by Hillary seek aid. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
California clothing store owner who was murdered is being remembered as a fearless pillar of her community.
Police in San Bernardino say 66-year-old Laura Ann Carlton was shot and killed Friday by a man who made disparaging remarks about the LGBTQ plus pride flag flown outside her clothing store Magpie in Cedar Glen. Police say they were able to track down the armed suspect who was fatally shot during a confrontation with the officers. The suspect not yet identified. San Bernardino County Supervisor Dawn Rowe remembering the victim, a mother of 9, calling the act of hate and violence unthinkable. Sue Guzman, Fox News.
Bernardo Arevalo is elected president of Guatemala, beating former First Lady Sandra Torres, running an anti-corruption campaign. Arevalo won 56% of the vote. His father was Guatemala's first democratically elected president in 1945. Stock futures are up ahead of the opening bell on Wall Street. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley. Former Vice President Mike Pence says he was never made aware of any broad-based declassification of documents by former President Trump. Pence's comments on ABC's This Week were consistent with what former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows reportedly told investigators for Special Counsel Jack Smith. Pence says the declassification of classified documents is something he would expect Meadows to have known about. A former Illinois Department of Children and Family Services worker and 14 other people are accused of participating in a scheme to fraudulently obtain more than $3 million in state funds. A federal indictment claims that Chantel Pridgeon orchestrated the fraud scheme from 2016 to 2022 while serving as a community social service planner for DCFS in Chicago. The 54-year-old defendant allegedly directed millions in state funds to the co-defendants for non-existent child care services. The co-defendants reportedly then paid bribes and kickbacks to Pridgeon, totaling more than $1.6 million. A superhero is replacing a doll at the top of the box office, but just barely. Blue Beetle ended the 4-week reign of Barbie, but not by much. The DC superhero film debuted with an estimated $25 million, while Barbie took home an estimated $21 million in its 5th week of release. Both films are distributed by Warner Brothers. News is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile or text the word app to 64636. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Bidenomics is working. We got front runners. This is just another hoax. We got up and comers.
All options are on the table. Something has to give.
People of every background.
We got scandals.
Like Mama Jones said, someone's lying.
And the election season is just getting started. Keep up with all of it on Chicago's election station. AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart.
Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Who is there for the families left behind when a service member or first responder dies or is catastrophically injured in the line of duty? Who helps our nation's homeless veterans? And who helps our nation keep its vow to never forget 9/11? The Tunnel to Towers Foundation. More than 95 cents of every dollar you donate to Tunnel to Towers goes to its programs. This charity keeps its word. Honor our nation's greatest heroes. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Hun, we need to stop putting off getting life insurance.
I know. It's just been so busy, and I'm sure the cost is out of our budget.
Well, Jen told me that they got a $500,000 term life insurance policy from Ethos for less than $23 a month. All online with no complicated forms and no medical exam. All they had to do was answer a few health questions.
Wait, no medical exam and all online?
I know, right? It's not easy to think about, but if something happened to you, James and I would be...
Okay, I get it. Let's get a quote from Ethos right now. Wow, you were right. There's no medical exam, and Ethos makes the whole online process fast and easy. And look at these rates and coverage options. It's great protection and totally fits our budget.
Ethos. They've removed all the barriers from getting coverage. Go to checkethos.com to get your free online quote. That's checkethos.com. Quote based on a healthy, non-smoking 30-year-old male with a 20-year term policy. Rates may vary.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak taking a look at the roads. Still a mess eastbound on the Reagan between 83 and the Tri-State. Traffic is slow on the ramp to the northbound Tri-State as crews have cleared up an earlier crash. If you're heading inbound on the Edens, tight 25 minutes, Lake Cook Road to Montrose. Kennedy inbound side, 50 minutes in from O'Hare to downtown. So that is definitely tight. And the inbound Eisenhower slowing at 45 from 390 into the post office. Going in on the Stevenson, that's delayed right near 355 to 83. 35 minutes going in. Inbound Dan Ryan at 25 from 95th into downtown express lanes. Slowing down 51st to the Stevenson. Eastbound 8094, stop and go Grant to I-65. Traffic is a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Croft University and The Sean Thompson Show when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Some hazy sun, less humid day, high today 82, partly cloudy, humid for tonight, low 70, partly sunny, it'll be humid for tomorrow, the high at 90, a big warm up on Wednesday, sun and patchy clouds on 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Venture capitalist David Sachs had a conversation with our colleague Hugh Hewitt about the war in Ukraine to repel the Russian invaders. And he provided one perspective on how we got to this point, how things are going, and where things should go. And now, David Sachs is not your typical dilettante from high finance wading into political waters. He actually has a fairly good understanding, whether you disagree with his geopolitical assessment or not, has fairly good understanding, historical background on the region. So he knows a little bit about what he's talking about, more than a little bit. even if, again, you don't share his conclusions about American policy leading up to the Russian invasion and American policy since. Here's his version of how we got to this point.
Let's just say that this is always the argument that you hear, is that it's always 1938, that our enemy is always Hitler, and engaging in any diplomacy whatsoever would be akin to appeasement, and you're Neville Chamberlain. And so this is what I've been hearing throughout this war. And what I would just say is that every historical circumstance is different. I think, I'm very familiar with what happened in World War II and what led up to it. And I just think that the situation we have today really bears no resemblance to that. I don't think the idea that that Putin is Hitler is a serious argument. I don't think that this is primarily a war of conquest. I think the causes of this war have been known for decades, which mainly has to do with Russian security concerns, which the West continuously ignored. We ignored the advice of George Kennan in the 1990s in bringing NATO right up to Russia's door. He predicted that would be a tragic mistake that would end in hostilities. We ignored the advice of our own ambassador to Moscow in 2008, Bill Burns, who's now the CIA director, who told us that expanding NATO to Ukraine was a red line for the Russians, not just Putin, but the entire Russian elite. It was absolutely a red line for Gorbachev and Yeltsin, as well as various liberal reformers inside of Russia. We ignored the advice of Kissinger and Professor Mearsheimer in 2014, who warned us we were headed for this war unless we agreed to make Ukraine a neutral country. And instead, we ignored all of this advice for many years, and we persisted in this crusade to bring Ukraine into NATO and basically turn it into a giant military base on Russia's most vulnerable border.
All right, so that's his assessment of how he got here. We'll get reaction to that from Dakota Wood momentarily, but here's his assessment of how the war is going.
It's going very badly. I think the war is an absolute disaster for Ukraine. I think that the administration was pinning its hopes on a successful counteroffensive. Remember, the narrative we were told for the whole last year, or at least certainly since the fall, since Kharkiv, was that we were going to arm the Ukrainians. We appropriated over $100 billion to them. And the idea was that we would have this successful spring counteroffensive. The Ukrainians, with the help of American armor and weapons, would punch through the Russian lines. They would scatter, they would turn tail and run, they would be disorganized, they were demoralized and ineffective and corrupt. And that within a period of even 3 to 4 days, you'd see significant progress. And within a couple of months, the Ukrainians would be at the Sea of Azov, they would cut off the land bridge to Crimea, and the Russians would have to sue for peace. And that was going to be the end of this whole matter. Well, obviously that hasn't worked out.
Right. So how we got here, where we are, and finally where we should go, according to David Sachs.
So, and not to mention that Ukraine's just been completely destroyed. Hundreds of thousands of people have been killed. Over 10 million of their population are now refugees. They've had to flee the country. The infrastructure has been destroyed. The economy has been destroyed. And again, they're not retaking this territory. So I think at some point we're going to have to recognize that we are going to have to do what we always needed to do, which was engage in serious diplomacy to solve this conflict. And sadly, we're only going to recognize that fact, I think, after this country is completely destroyed and the West has basically fought to the last Ukrainian.
Dakota Wood served America for 2 decades in the Marine Corps. He's Senior Research Fellow for Defense Programs at the Heritage Foundation. Dakota, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's great to be with you. Thank you.
So is that what you suspect we're going to do, fight to the last Ukrainian?
Well, I mean, that's always been the case. Nobody has said anything in favor of inserting NATO forces into Ukraine, much less America, unilaterally. So that wasn't going to happen. It was going to be a fight between the Ukrainians and the Russians. But I think Sachs only gets like half of what he said right. Context is everything, and little half-truths actually muddy the waters. He was right on many of his points, but there were also several that I think were mischaracterized, and we can get into that.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I agree with the point that the West ignoring Russia's protests about NATO expansion was a dangerous path if it wasn't accompanied by preparations. Things go sideways. So on the Western side, and especially in conservative circles, the argument was, well, Russia shouldn't have a veto on what NATO decides to do. If a country wants to join NATO and they meet the criteria, who is Russia to say that they can't do that? And there's some merit in that argument. Why would you want to give a veto to your opponent? At the same time, if you have a good idea that it's really irritating them, and Russia, continually protested NATO coming up to the borders of Russia, then as a planner, you would want to account for that. Are you arming yourself? Are you creating a hedge, against the fact that this might generate some kind of blowback? So on kind of the principle, moral, ethical, whatever side, yes, NATO could expand. Countries wanted to join a very successful security bloc and be more tied into the economics of the West and those sorts of things. But the various countries failed to keep their industrial bases equipped, militaries of sufficient capacity, and training and readiness and all that. So it's like you're prompting, poking at the bear, the Soviet bear or Russian bear, without taking any precautions whatsoever if the bear decides to lash out at you. So, I mean, there are two sides to that discussion. On the offensive and the big promises made by it, we were teaching them something called combined arms warfare, maneuver warfare, but the focus was only on ground forces, and it took many, many months to do that. When the U.S. goes into a war or into a battle, and we've seen instances of this in Iraq over the last 20 years or so, is that you have air power is a very, very important a part of that. And that's the one thing that Ukraine did not have. So you can't affect successful ground maneuver without air power in support of that. And this constant delay of kind of a minimalist supply approach gave Russia the time to harden its positions, put in all sorts of trenches, later defenses, all this stuff. And it makes it terrifically more difficult to penetrate through that. So the delay enabled Russia to harden its positions. No surprise then that it's much more difficult today without air power for the Ukrainians to punch through. So again, the half-truth is, yes, the offensive hasn't been successful. Unspoken was everybody, presumably in support of Ukraine, enabled Russia to make that challenge more of a challenge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But so let's take the complete picture that you provided, then say, okay, well, whether the U.S. made a mistake or the combined U.S.-Ukrainian forces made a mistake in pushing this counteroffensive without air power, or whether we should have been faster in getting air power to them. So here we are now. So does the counteroffensive have the possibility of success, or should we be leaning towards a push for some sort of diplomatic resolution?
Well, there has been diplomacy going on constantly. Whether that's successful or not is not beside the point, but it's a parallel story. So the United States, the West, have been engaging. Putin has shown no desire whatsoever. I mean, his objective is to seize as much of Ukraine as he can, both for the motherland, Empire Russia, not the Soviet Union, improving Russia's view from the world, toward Russia. Is it a major power? Is it in decline? All those sorts of things. Personal aggrandizement, etc., as well as making a statement to the West that don't mess with me because this is going to be the consequences. So he had no desire, regardless of any diplomatic overtures. What Sachs and others are now talking about is, well, the game is up. You're not going to be able to make success, so all you can do is negotiate, which means Ukraine gives up the territory that is currently being held by Russia, and then what are the consequences of that? You have a rump Ukraine. It's been dramatically devastated. So by both paths, the argument I'm making should have been more aggressive early on, more coordinated, et cetera, and his path of, well, it was all doomed to failure. You can still get to the same point. What do we do today? And I think today it is a very difficult prospect to think that Ukraine is going to win anything without continued U.S. support. So if the support from the West dries up, Ukraine will have no option but to negotiate a settlement, which means it loses about a third of its country. So we go back to the original argument, is the West prepared for that, right? For a Russian win in Ukraine, a couple of 3 years to rearm, and then what's next? Because, more Ukraine, Moldova, perhaps, parts of Romania, Georgia, does he go into the Baltic states? So everybody, I think what's going to happen is negotiated settlement, Russia wins, everybody then in the West goes on their merry way, kind of wiping their hands, boy, we're glad that's over, and you revisit a bigger war a couple, 3 years from now. So it's a magnificent problem of our own making.
Yeah, well, I mean, so the whole Hitler comparison. So I don't.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I agree, and I don't think that Ukraine is Sudetenland, but he can be he cannot try to be taking over the entirety of Eurasia, a la Hitler, but he can also be a revanchist, and he wants to extend his reach to some of the old Soviet bloc. And so, I mean, is that your belief that if he gets whatever he's got in Ukraine and he's able to stabilize that, then there will be other former Soviet territories, so now countries, that will fall? Or that
if you listen to Sachs' argument, he's saying you have to listen to what the other guy is saying, and if you ignore that, like NATO expansion, you're going to run into some problems. So let's just take that logic. What has Vladimir Putin said during his entire time in power? He yearns for the old Russian Empire. Yeah. He says that the dissolution of the Soviet Union was the greatest geostrategic mistake in modern history. And so the Russian people view themselves as a great people. They want to reclaim former Russian lands. So if you look at a map of Europe, well, what does that mean? You could go back to, say, World War I just for that map, and what did the Russian Empire look like? And so I think that is probably closer to the reality of what Vladimir Putin and the Russian leadership views as an ideal world, where Russia strides across Eurasia, right? Not in a Nazi sort of way. This isn't Hitler. I agree with that. That's not the case. But if you look at Russian empire and influence and power and all those sorts of things, it can only lead you to the conclusion that he will try to nibble away or grab when he can parts of the old Soviet system, which was kind of a mirror image of the Russian Empire. And we will have not seen the last of these battles.
Well, do you think this is going to be a 100-year war?
It's really hard to predict, and I'm not dancing around it. People respond to stimuli, right? So you don't have any problem in your daily life, even if there are other problems going on in the rest of the country. Look at the liberal cities with all of a sudden migrants showing up in buses, right? It wasn't a problem, border security, until all of a sudden you've got people on your doorstep. So when problems really confront you personally, that's when you are stimulated or incentivized to respond to that. So the idea of a 100-year war, and we've talked about this on China and other sorts of things, that's like a trend line that's uninterrupted. But if Russia wins, rearms, and you start seeing additional problems, maybe Germany finally gets the message that Poland has already gotten. Poland is leading the way and getting more muscular and serious. The Baltic states are there. We've joined Finland and Sweden because they're now very, very concerned. But you don't see the same concern in Germany and Spain and Italy and Greece and France and countries farther away. So if you look at Japan vis-a-vis China, Japan is doubling its defense budget because it finally understands that China poses a threat to Japan. So we'll just have to see how this plays out and whether countries in Europe are incentivized to get serious about defending their own interests.
Speaking of our border and how uninterested we are in defending it, roughly 18,000 illegal migrant encounters of Chinese nationals between October 22 and July of this year. That's compared to less than 2,000 in all of fiscal year 2022. So that's a pretty big surge.
It's like 8 times. Yeah,
and this is, nothing against the Chinese people, particularly those seeking asylum because they're being persecuted religiously for their Christianity or for their Islamic faith. Okay, fine. But I mean, Gordon Chang, author of The Coming Collapse of China, he said, when I first saw the surge in Chinese migrants, the thought came into my mind that these are either Ministry of State security agents or Chinese military coming to this country to commit acts of sabotage. So, I mean, and of course you can have both people honestly fleeing religious persecution and agents of the state. What is your handle on how we're handling this surge of Chinese nationals and what our intelligence is about the nature of these individuals?
Well, I think there's like 4 points here that you've either brought up or implied. You know, the first one is the first two things aren't in contradiction to each other, right? That you can have good people who are being persecuted at home trying to find a better life, right? So you could have legitimate Chinese, now that the COVID restrictions are gone and those sorts of things, and they can flee and go to some place where they've got freedom and opportunity and all the things they don't have, you know, lack of a surveillance state for the most part here in the U.S. as opposed to things. And yet we can still have a secure southern border. You know, if they want to come in, they need to come in through appropriate channels, right? So we can be sympathetic to them and say, no, we don't have an open border. You could also have, if you have this flood of people, wouldn't it make sense if you're the opposing power to insert your own people, you know, under the guise of migrants, and they are saboteurs. I mean, it's really hard to know that until you can isolate them, you know, get them. What is our capture rate on the southern border, have the right person interrogate them, and then try to get the actual story going on. You know, are they spies, saboteurs, you know, agents on behalf of China? So you can have legitimate inflow of people with the criminal element mixed into that. And then as far as how we're handling it, very badly. I know that you've already seen the stories about the Biden administration selling off the materials that were originally assembled by Trump, you know, to build some kind of a barrier, a wall. So, you know, the stuff, taxpayer monies, wall building material, the Biden administration stops the construction and now is selling off that material on the open market for pennies on the dollar. So the Biden administration has zero interest in securing our border from either legitimate, let's how we say, you know, illegal immigrants coming in to try to find a better life, right? Even though they're doing that illegally. And these threat vectors, not just Chinese, but individuals from the Middle East, from Central Asia, you know, you have no idea who's coming across. I mean, we can't even stop fentanyl coming across or human trafficking. So the idea of a saboteur coming through would seem to be a pretty easy task on the part of our enemies.
Chilling. Dakota Woods served America for 2 decades in the Marine Corps, senior research fellow for defense programs at the Heritage Foundation. Dakota, thanks as always.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Are you worried about investing in the stock market, especially with Joe Biden in office? Do you really trust the economy? What if you could invest in a secure, collateralized portfolio with a high fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? A portfolio where you'll know what each monthly statement will look like with no surprises. Your interest is compounded daily. You're repaid monthly, and there are no fees. You can turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. And get this, there's absolutely no loss of principal if you ever need your money back. Just go to investrefy.com. That's invest, the letter Y, then refy.com, or call 888-YREFI, 888-YREFY24. You can earn a fixed rate of return or up to 10.25%. Just call 888-YREFY24 or go to investrefy.com and tell them Charlie Kirk sent you.
Did you know that St. John's Lutheran School in Lombard is the only school in the entire state of Illinois offering the renowned Hillsdale College K-8 curriculum? If you're a parent in Lombard, Glen Ellen, Wheaton, Downers Grove, or the surrounding areas, and you're searching for an exceptional educational experience for your child, then look no further than St. John's Lutheran K-8 school. That's where academic excellence meets strong Christian values. St. John's partnership with Hillsdale College ensures that your child receives a rigorous K-8 academic experience. What sets St. John's apart is they recognize the concerns many parents have about the radical woke agenda infiltrating public schools. That's why they're dedicated to providing a nurturing environment that promotes the Christian faith, traditional values, and critical thinking. That is the right combo. The Hillsdale College K-8 curriculum, combined with their focus on Christian faith and character development, is a game changer for your child's education. Learn more at stjohnslombard.com. That's the letters S-T, John's Lombard, stjohnslombard.com, stjohnslombard.com. Give your child or grandchild the gift of a faith-based Hillsdale College K-8 curriculum-based education. That's S-T, John's Lombard, stjohnslombard.com.
A few days ago, I was fortunate to attend Family Day on the USS Bush, which had just returned from my 9-month deployment. My son's squadron had deployed with the Bush, one of many fleets, divisions, and groups sent around the world to project American power and defend American interests. While there are many positions surrounding the use of American forces, what is indisputable is that our military strength is the result of our innovators, skilled labor, manufacturers, and of course, our American fighting men and women. Walking that ship, it is hard to imagine how it all came together. A floating city of over 5,000 with all the infrastructure of a portable airport, weapon systems, power generation, communications, maintenance, an aircraft hangar, barracks, food, laundry, and even a barbershop, working 24/7 every day of the year. You want to be impressed with America? Take a tour if you get the chance. I'm Jeannie Ives. Good public policy begins by being informed. Sign up for our newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I've had a high energy level every day, and I've just been doing great. And I just feel like it's a definite advantage to take them. Let me just say one other thing. I mentioned to my doctor that I was taking Balance of Nature, and they said they were very positive about that. And they said that was really good. That's a good product. And so I've been very pleased.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hunter Biden's lawyer, Abby Lowell, says, look, he'd explain to you what Hunter Biden's business is, but it's too complicated, so just don't worry about it. We'll discuss with Andy McCarthy at 7:37, that is.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Nikki Whaley in for an injured Mike Scott.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley. Former Vice President Mike Pence hopes his former boss will be at Wednesday's Republican presidential debate. Speaking on ABC's This Week, Pence said that serving with former President Trump for 4 years has taught him it's not over till it's over. He said Trump might change his mind about joining the other candidates on the debate stage. Trump reportedly plans to skip the debate and instead join former Fox News host Tucker Carlson for an interview on the day of the debate. An investigation is underway after a pair of teens were killed in separate shootings in Chicago. Police say 14-year-old Rajang Harshaw was shot and killed Saturday night in the 8700 block of South Krieger Avenue. He lived on the same block where he was shot. Several hours earlier, 17-year-old Ashantice Wilbur was shot down in Gale Park in the Austin neighborhood. No arrests have been made in either shooting. News is a service of Dan and Amy 24/7. You can now enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer. Listen now at danandamy247.com. Let's take a look at the roadway.
The mainstream media wants to divide Americans into neat little groups, and they want you to believe that everyone in each one of those groups thinks alike. Sean Anthony is here to blow up that lie. Join him for Black and Right this Saturday afternoon at 4, when he provides a different perspective on what it means to be black and right. This Saturday afternoon at 4, right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I've had a high energy level every day, and I've just been doing great. And I just feel like it's a definite advantage to take them. Let me just say one other thing. I mentioned to my doctor that I was taking Balance of Nature, and they said they were very positive about that. And they said that was really good. That's a good product. And so I've been very pleased.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
This is Dennis Prager. Now you can listen to my show when it's convenient for you and without censorship from big tech. Become a member of the ultimate online community for all things Prager. It's Pragertopia Unlimited. Listen to every radio show over the last 10 years, all commercial free. You can even listen to all my Torah teachings for free. Join today and save 25% off the first year and get a free Pragertopia coffee mug. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
Hire with minimal effort and max speed with Indeed. Their hiring solution platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates efficiently. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak taking a look at the roads eastbound on the Reagan. Still heavy, 83 to the Tri-State due to slow traffic on the ramp to the northbound Tri-State, and that is from an earlier crash. On the Edens going in, 25, Lake Cook Road to Montrose. Kennedy, 55 minutes in from O'Hare to downtown. And the inbound Eisenhower, 55 minutes as well, 390 into the post office. Stevenson, a 48-minute trip, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Give yourself a half hour going inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th Street, and delays are on the Ford to watch for inbound 103rd into the Dan Ryan. Also DuSable Lakeshore Drive northbound sluggish Roosevelt to Monroe, and seeing delays right on the northwest side at Cicero and Cortland with a crash. Traffic is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile or text the word app to 64636. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Less humid and some hazy sun. Our high today 82. Partly cloudy, humid night. Low tonight 70. Partly sunny for tomorrow and the high at 90. A big warm-up coming on Wednesday. Sun, patchy clouds and hot. The high 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy over the weekend was, full-on damage control and spin-meistering by Biden Incorporated and its surrogates. Starting with Hunter's lawyer. Hunter
Chris
Biden's
Clark?
lawyer. No, Abby Lowell.
Oh.
He was on to spoon-feed Joe Scarborough, dutifully performing for the regime, about Hunter Biden's business. And, there's the profile of Hunter Biden that's been created in right-wing media. And then there's the real Hunter Biden. And Abby Lowell was kind enough to tell us who the real Hunter Biden is. Now, look, he'd be happy to get into his business, Hunter Biden's business, and what he did, but it's too complicated for you to understand, so he's not going to try.
Well, okay, so first of all, it's much more complicated than to say it comes from countries. There are joint ventures between American entities and, in one or two occasions, a potential foreign entity to create the possibility of jobs and energy in the United States. That's too complicated to try to explain, but I can answer the question that you asked in the following way. Over the time that he was in business, this is, again, something that people ought to pay attention to. Hunter Biden went to Georgetown University, went to Yale Law School, was on the board of directors of a bank, was on the board of directors of Amtrak, is somebody who went and worked in an international law firm. People seem to forget that this is not the person who's simply out there having people write checks for no reason. He's a capable, educated, experienced person.
No, there's a reason they're writing checks. And Abby Lowell would have us to believe, because this is one of the great legal and financial minds of his generation. Okay. I mean, if you want to believe that, sure. Jake Tapper's not even buying that at this point. Jake Tapper and his panelists over the weekend on this matter of Hunter Biden's business and what Mr. 10%, the big guy, President Biden, was saying when he was candidate Biden on the debate stage in 2020.
And Kristen, Glenn Kessler from the Washington Post had a fact check about Joe Biden from earlier this month, noting that Hunter Biden admitted in court in July that he was in fact paid substantial sums from Chinese companies. Kessler wrote, Hunter Biden reported nearly $2.4 million in income in 2017 and $2.2 million in income in 2018, most of which came from Chinese or Ukrainian interests. But this directly goes against what Joe Biden said in the debate in 2020 with Donald Trump. Take a listen.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China.
What you
None of that
as
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
True. So it's from two different debates, but, I mean, Trump was right. I mean, he did make a fortune from China, and Joe Biden was wrong. I don't know that he was lying about it. He might not have been told by Hunter, but this blind spot is a problem.
There's the fallback position.
Wow.
Just a blind spot. Mm-hmm. And so you had a Flack, former Michigan Congressman Andy Levin, on to regurgitate that setup that Tapper just provided. Hey, we all got blind spots with our kids, you know?
Well, I think dads have sometimes, and parents sometimes have blind spots about their kids, for sure, and the president may be no exception.
Come on.
But nothing has tied the president to any of Hunter Biden's dealings. There's no whiff of him being involved or him being implicated in it. And it's, I think it's not something the voters care a lot about.
For more on this, please be joined by Andy McCarthy, former chief assistant U.S. attorney and contributing editor at National Review, also the author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Blind spots, not really a legal argument, a political one, but, it just seems like relatively straightforward, and people will care about this some people will, being treated like a dope. A lot of people don't like to be treated like a dope. Some people do, apparently. But let's just take that at face value and say, sure, he didn't know, despite all the evidence that we have to the contrary. Did he have a duty to know as the vice president, as a former vice president of the United States, and when he was vice president and as a former vice president, as a candidate for president? Did he have a duty to know if his power was being, in this argument, compromised by his son?
Well, I don't know how a guy can be president of the United States and expect to be trusted with those kinds of responsibilities, which require knowing an awful lot of things, but then tell you he didn't know the major thing that was going on in his own family, which was making millions of dollars off his name, not Hunter's name, his name. And the other thing, I think a lot of things are missed because this has not been subjected to an ordinary investigation as it would be in connection with anyone whose last name wasn't Biden. But there's about 8 zillion internal, regulations and protocols in the government where if you have an interest in something, you're not only expected to know what your family members are up to, particularly when it comes to foreign powers. When somebody seeks a security clearance in the government, you have to fill out this form SF-86, where it seems like a book-length form, but they want to know every foreign contact you have, every foreign transaction you've had, every dime that you make in connection with any kinds of foreign commerce, and not just you, but your close family members, because the experience of the intelligence community is the way people get blackmailed is by, being in a compromised financial situation with foreign actors. That's just, something that's common sense that the intelligence community looks at all the time. So obviously you're expected to know that stuff. And let's say Joe Biden showed up at a dinner in Georgetown in 2014 with a bunch of Hunter's foreign business partners. And maybe he shows up by accident. He thinks he's going to see his son, and it turns out that he's been set up to, glad hand with all these people. You could forgive him for one night, but the next morning, he better be calling Hunter saying, don't you ever put me in that position again. Instead, that was the regular course of business, because the business was access to Joe Biden, and it's ridiculous to think that he didn't know that since he was the business. All this nonsense about, what did he know, and was he in business with Hunter, and did he ever discuss business with Hunter? Joe Biden was the business. And the thought that it could have gone on for years and years as it did, and that he didn't know that, is just laughable.
Yeah, but there's proofs of a payoff, right? On June 8th, didn't the FBI drop documents saying Biden took a $5 million bribe?
Well, that's an informant claim that hasn't been, we don't know if they can prove that or not. But Amy, what I would say is, yeah, and they should be able to run it down. It's certainly the way Miklashevsky described it. It certainly seems to resemble what the House has found in other connections with other foreign payments. But what I would stress to people is all these people who are looking for some affirmative thing that he did, like some money that ends up in the bank, in a personal bank account of Joe Biden's, and then some quid pro quo thing that he did to advance the interest of whoever paid him. The point of this business was for the people who were paying to be shown to have access to Joe Biden so that other people would leave them alone. Like this guy, Miklashevsky, who's paying to have, Hunter on his board, and who the allegation is he paid this additional bribe money to the Bidens. He was hoping for the Ukrainians to leave him alone. He wanted the Brits to leave him alone. They had just seized a bunch of his money. The idea is that if you have access to the big dog and you have a relationship with somebody who is powerful in government, people who are less powerful in government are not going to want to mess with you. They can go mess with somebody else. That's what these people were buying.
And also they're buying access to inside deals. I mean, they want access to potential energy deals in the United States. I mean, so it's the same thing. It's a shield and a sword.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I just think that to the extent Republicans and others are, thinking we're getting close to being able to prove that, Biden got a direct payment or Biden did a direct thing.
Right.
I think you're framing the thing. If that's your position, I'm not saying you, Dan, but I'm saying someone's general position. I think you got to have more accurate what this was.
Right. So in response to that,
otherwise you're going to set.
Yeah. In response to all this, there's no tie. The whole thing The whole thing was an ongoing thing. I mean, it's just like anybody looking at this knows this. You can do the Jamie Raskin, his poor boy dealing with addiction and all, and what you heard from that former Michigan congressman. You can't directly link. That's their fallback position. But I mean, give me a break. Here's what was happening. This guy, this son went out with his name selling this access. That's what they paid for. That's what they all said they paid for. That's what Hunter Biden's business partners are saying they paid for. Devin Archer's testimony, among others. And that's it. So it was going on the entire time. It's not a single moment. It's not a deep throat situation. It's just, this is what you think it is, right? I mean, you just have to trust your common sense.
Take the simplest example that's right in front of our face that shows how this worked. Heard of Hunter Biden? His felonies? When did he get indicted? He never got indicted. Case has been going on for 5 years. He's dead to rights on tax evasion stuff and a 10-year gun felony. He's never been charged. Why not?
Yeah, because
who's his dad?
Yeah, who's his daddy?
Well, speaking, you want to prosecute Joe Biden's son? I mean, that's what these people were buying.
Yes,
he's so powerful that you got a guy who's dead to rights on a bunch of felony counts, and they won't even dare indict him. Forget about take him to trial; they won't even charge him.
But then, the flip, he's trying to keep his son out of prison. He wants his opponent in prison, President Trump. I mean, is there a chance that he could go to prison in Georgia?
President Trump now?
Yeah.
You mean?
Yep.
Well, I think that she's overcharged the case. The RICO is ridiculous, and there's no overarching conspiracy charge that ties this whole thing together. But if you dig into the schemes, I think he's going to have problems with. They could. I don't buy the counts where they're trying to solicit state officials to violate their oath, because I think that violates the Constitution unless you're talking about solicitation of violence. But, the fake electors, to the extent that they had a plan to try to use them to get Pence to not count the votes, and they have Trump and Eastman filing a verified complaint in federal court where the emails seem to indicate that they knew the numbers they were given the federal court were dubious, if not false. So they've got a couple of things to be concerned about, but it's not the RICO. What she should have done, since she has this is Fannie Ross, I'm talking about the DA. Unlike Smith, she has the advantage of, it's states that conduct elections. So she's got an array of election integrity statutes in Georgia penal law. And she should have stuck to those instead of reaching for the stars on RICO. What she tried to do was the indictment version of the January 6th committee. And it's just not a true story that Trump was a criminal mastermind playing five-dimensional chess with this scheme that had multi-parts. And, this was a bunch of people running around like chickens without their heads with disparate, disconnected schemes, none of which had any chance of success. And the Democrats like to frame this as if our democracy was hanging by a thread. That may make for entertaining primetime hearings for the January 6th committee, but it's not going to be very good at a trial where the defense lawyers get to push back.
Back to Biden. So the report is that his criminal defense attorney, Christopher Clark, told an assistant U.S. attorney named Leslie Wolf in Weiss's office that charging Hunter would be, quote unquote, career suicide. And they seem to have operated under that theory. Give us what you think happens with Hunter. Do they figure out a way to revive that plea deal and just not provide immunity for prospective issues, their quote unquote ongoing investigation? Or do they come down with a harsher punishment? All right, Hunter, you're going to have to do some time, so it makes it look like that you're actually subject to the laws of the United States. How do you see that playing out?
Well, I see them continuing to dither while the statute of limitations eats their case away. Everything prior to 2017 and most things prior to 2018 are already gone. And this scheme only went till about 2019 because then they had to go dark when Biden started his 2020 campaign in earnest. So the whole case is almost gone as it is, including the most important stuff, which seems to have happened between 2014 and 2016 when Joe Biden was vice president.
Right.
I imagine that what they'll try to do, I mean, they're still working together, and they're collaborating. That is to say, Weiss and the Biden defense lawyers, no matter what they're now saying for public consumption. So they'll try to work, some kind of a tax plea out that maybe, where he won't have to do any time, but maybe he pleads guilty to something more serious than what was on the table before. But Dan, as far as like the ongoing investigation is concerned, to my mind, Weiss gave that away in, the plea document. Right. Weiss stipulates to a statement of facts that says they got the money because Hunter was a sophisticated high-end lawyer, not because they were, being paid off bribes by foreign actors. And he says that Hunter didn't pay his taxes because he was drug-addled, not that they were trying to hide the payments because they didn't want you to know where the payments were coming from. So Weiss signed on to that theory. How could you have an actual ongoing investigation of potential bribery, money laundering, and foreign agent registration violations if you're signing a document that says they got the money because Hunter was a high-end lawyer?
Well, now
he didn't pay the taxes because he was a drug addict.
Now I'm special counsel, and all of a sudden, with my newfound powers, I find other information that makes me rethink my previous position, and so that this does need some looking into. I mean, I can't believe that Weiss would be this craven, although maybe I'm underestimating him, to try to do a four-corner, run out the clock completely on the case pending, the cases or the potential charges facing Hunter Biden.
Yeah, he wants to be U.S. attorney in Delaware, and he's always known that that's the job that he really wanted. And he's always known that as long as he maintains the Biden investigation without doing anything, he's not going to be fired. He's the only Trump holdover who was not fired.
Right.
And he's got his insurance policy is Hunter. And nothing in that dynamic has changed since last week. Biden is still president, and this guy is still dependent on Biden for the job that he wants.
Andy McCarthy, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney, Southern District of New York, contributing editor at National Review, author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thank you as always.
Have a great day.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Rick here from Forever Remodeling. You probably heard me talk about how our unique design-build process removes the normal problems of hiring a design and construction company separately. But just don't take my word for it. Listen to these customer reviews. Kelly W. says, from consultation to design to construction, my remodel flowed seamlessly. Adity J says, we were thrilled to have a full-service remodeling firm take all the guesswork out of our project. And Caesar V says, Forever Remodeling made what could have been a very stressful project extremely easy for us. They finished on time and did amazing work. Kitchens, bathrooms, basements, additions, whole house remodeling, whatever you need, our start-to-finish process delivers stunning results without the hassles, headaches, and stress. For a free consultation, call Forever Remodeling at 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number foreverremodeling.com.
There is a place in northern Illinois that people have come from all around the globe seeking treasure.
It's amazing. I didn't know what to expect, but when I got there, I was surrounded by all kinds of gold and silver.
An actual place where you're surrounded by treasure?
I've known that gold and silver were a good investment, but I really didn't want to buy it through the mail. At Fox Valley Coins, I basically walked in, picked out what I wanted, paid cash, and walked out with gold and silver.
Walk in with paper and walk out with actual gold and silver bars. For decades, Fox Valley Coins has traded paper dollars for actual gold and silver. They buy and sell. The treasure map is available at foxvalleycoins.com. They are on Route 59, 1 light north of I-88 in Naperville, Illinois. Again, for info and the map, seek foxvalleycoins.com.
This decade is looking like the worst one to retire or be retired in. For more than 30 years, Bob Carlson's Retirement Watch has been helping Americans invest, protect, and grow their assets. Subscribe to Retirement Watch and you'll get 3 months of Bob Carlson's Retirement Watch newsletter, 5 model portfolios, 5 free reports covering issues like estate planning and annuities to help you protect your money from the government and grow your nest egg. All for just $19.95. Sign up today at yourretirementwatch.com. Yourretirementwatch.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
What happened to the theater scene in Chicago at 8:08?
Today, mostly sunny, a high near 83 degrees and partly cloudy tonight with a low around 68 degrees. And then this weekend, yes, it's going to get warm, but nothing we haven't seen before in our lives, that's for sure. It's about time. Wednesday, mostly sunny and hot, a high near 98 degrees, and we should hit 99 degrees by Thursday. It is now 8 a.m. You're listening to AM 560 WIND Chicago.
To our driveway through a mudslide. There's search and rescue operations for anyone trapped. Hillary's now downgraded to a post-tropical storm, meaning its wind speed is slowed down, but there's more rain to come. It's expected to move into Idaho by tonight. The mayor of Maui County, Hawaii, says about 850 people are now unaccounted for. There are 114 deaths confirmed in the wildfires there.
The president and first lady will leave Lake Tahoe, Nevada, where they've been since Friday, to head for Maui, Hawaii, to view the wildfire devastation firsthand. Governor Josh Green said on CBS Face the Nation what the president will see has been unparalleled for decades.
The largest catastrophe and disaster that's ever hit Maui, probably it's ever hit Hawaii outside of wartime events.
The president last week made disaster assistance available to the state. From there, he and the First Lady will return to Lake Tahoe and remain there through the week. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Former President Trump says he will not be at the first Republican presidential debate Wednesday on Fox.
He posted on his Truth social media site, "The public knows who I am and what a successful presidency I had. I will therefore not be doing the debates." A spokesman didn't immediately clarify whether he plans to boycott every primary debate.
Fox's Jill Nato. Fox News Radio will be providing special coverage of the first Republican primary debate beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern Time Wednesday. You can listen at foxnewsradio.com. A former nurse at a hospital in northern England, Lucy Letby, sentenced to life in prison for murdering 7 babies and attempting to kill 6 others in 2015 and 2016. There's no death penalty in Great Britain. America's listening to Fox News.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart.
Good morning. It's 73 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley. President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden are set to visit Hawaii today. They'll meet with first responders and survivors and tour areas impacted by recent wildfires that have killed at least 114 people. Officials estimate roughly 1,000 more could still be unaccounted for. The blaze that tore through the town of Lahaina on the island of Maui is the deadliest wildfire in modern U.S. history. It's the first day of classes for the fall semester at the University of Illinois. Governor Pritzker will be giving remarks to celebrate the occasion. The address will take place at Beckman Institution for Advanced Science and Technology at 10. A woman is in critical condition after she apparently was pushed out of a window on the north side. Police say the victim was found unresponsive yesterday in an alley in the 4900 block of North Kenmore Avenue. She was taken to the hospital. A preliminary investigation shows she may have been pushed out of her own window. No arrests have been made at this time. Dangerously hot weather is hitting Illinois this week. The National Weather Service says temps will be in the 90s today with heat values as high as 115. There's an excessive heat warning in effect for much of the state until Thursday night. Extreme heat and humidity will significantly increase the potential for heat-related illnesses, especially for those working or participating in outdoor activities. News is a service of MyPillow. Big news. The MyPillow employees want to thank you by giving you the lowest price in history on their MyPillows. Queen size MyPillow regular price is $69.98, now only $19.98 with promo code Amy. Visit MyPillow.com and use promo code Amy. Well, check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the AM 560 Business Beat.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The Threads rivalry with X, the former Twitter, is stepping up. The Wall Street Journal says Threads' parent company Meta Platforms is launching a web version of its Threads blogging app. Threads launched a bare-bones version of the service in early July as a big success with 100 million downloads, but its use has plunged in recent weeks. Kraft Heinz has adapted its Lunchables packaged meal kits to meet federal guidelines for the National School Lunch Program. They'll be available this fall at some schools. High prices and rising interest rates are making it tougher to afford a new car. The Wall Street Journal says auto loan defaults and missed payments in the first half of last year to people with less than perfect credit are around levels from 2008 in the financial crisis. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka explains who we're dealing with.
Yeah, my son came home in a flag-draped casket too. No, he didn't. He died of cancer here in America. You were there at his side in the hospital when he died.
What kind of person does that?
Only one kind of person.
That's who Joe Biden is.
Wake up, America.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful at lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question, and the owners of Relief Factor tell me they believe our bodies were designed to heal. That's right, designed to heal, and I agree with them. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, yes, 100% drug-free ingredients, each helping your body deal with inflammation. Each of the 4 ingredients deals with inflammation from a different metabolic pathway. That's right there, approaching from 4 different angles. Maybe why so many people find such wonderful relief. So if you have back pain, shoulder, neck, hip, knee, or foot pain from exercise or just getting older, you should order the 3-week quick start, discounted to only $19.95 to see if it will work for you. It has for about 70% of the 500,000 people who've tried it, and they've ordered more. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF, the number 4RELIEF, to find out about this offer. Feel the difference.
When this is the sound of a waterfall in nature, there's no cause for concern. But when it's the sound of water gushing through your living room ceiling because a pipe burst inside the wall, there's reason to panic unless you pick up the phone and call 1-800-SERVPRO. Only the cleanup and restoration specialists at SERVPRO can help make fire and water damage like it never even happened. So make the call to 1-800-SERVPRO at the first sign of water damage. Franchises are independently owned and operated.
Hi, I'm Test Director Rick from ServPro, the leader in cleaning, restoration, and construction. It's my job to make sure our pros are prepared for anything. Storm damage? Fixed. Flood damage? We're on it. Fire damage? Not anymore. Aliens? What? Aliens? We cleaned those sites a while ago. No matter the disaster, our pros will make it like it never even happened. Find out why ServPro is the #1 choice for residential and commercial restoration projects large and small. Visit servpro.com today.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Who is there for the families left behind when a service member or first responder dies or is catastrophically injured in the line of duty? Who helps our nation's homeless veterans? And who helps our nation keep its vow to never forget 9/11? The Tunnel to Towers Foundation. More than 95 cents of every dollar you donate to Tunnel to Towers goes to its programs. This charity keeps its word. Honor our nation's greatest heroes. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak taking a look at the roads inbound Edens. A 30-minute trip in from Lake Cook Road to Montrose. Kennedy's a mess, hour and 5 in from O'Hare to downtown, and that's really tight. Campfield to Nagel, but crews just cleared a crash, so that is definitely what you are stuck in. Inbound Eisenhower, 1 hour and 5, 390 into the post office. But the outbound side of the Eisenhower, there is a crash right at Austin, blocking the left lane. That travel time 40 minutes on out. Stevenson in, also an hour, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Inbound side of the Rhine, 25, 95th Street on into the Jane Byrne interchange. And eastbound Reagan, that slows 83 to the Tri-State from an earlier crash. Traffic is a service of Townstone Financial. Need cash to pay off credit card debt? Townstone.com can help you with a home equity line of credit. Nobody beats their rates and closing cost home purchases, refinances, or home equity lines. Townstone.com, Illinois mortgage licensee 6629 NMLS 136639. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now, check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Some hazy sun, less humid day. High today 82. Partly cloudy, humid for tonight, low 70. Partly sunny, it'll be humid for tomorrow. The high at 90. A big warm up on Wednesday. Sun and patchy clouds on 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Well, this is interesting. The Chicago theater community is having a bit of a Fox Butterfield moment.
Oh, no.
Column by Chris Jones in the Chicago Tribune, which is actually quite good. I don't get to say that very often. What happened to theater in Chicago? Are you somebody who enjoyed going to the theatrical offerings in Chicago? Steppenwolf, Shakespeare, Lyric, CSO, Looking Glass.
Weren't you
the
a
many,
member?
many small theaters in Chicago. Are you, because, you know, one of the things you say is, oh, you know, the big city, it's the cultural offerings. So I don't want to move to the suburbs, or I don't want to move to the exurbs, or I don't want to move to a smaller community because, you know, it's just the arts and the entertainment venues, the culture. I mean, this is what a lot of people say who never really access these things. It's just sort of what you're supposed to say to sound cosmopolitan. But there are a lot of people who do. And I wonder if you've noticed.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also reach us on our text line, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment. Oh, I'm sorry for interrupting, but weren't you a member of the symphony or the Lyric Opera House?
I mean, when I was around and I was a supporter, I went to Shakespeare, Lyric, CSO routinely, and many of these small theaters as well. Not anymore. I cut my subscriptions to those places. I'll stop buying tickets to those places when they behaved as poorly as they did during COVID.
That's right. They had mask mandates and vaccine mandates. You couldn't get in.
Go there, right? Go put those tickets right on the pile next to the tickets to all the sports teams. Done. But it's not just COVID. That's part of it. Steppenwolf's top leaders, their artistic director and ED, gone. Lost 20% of its subscription audience, it reports, since 2017. The Writers Theater artistic director is gone. Barbara Gaines, I didn't even know this, is no longer with Shakespeare.
Oh.
She was really the driving force behind Shakespeare, in my view. In fact, leadership at top nonprofit theaters has almost all changed over almost at once. Victory Gardens has gone dark in all but name, leaving the previously restored Biograph as an empty eyesore in the prime location. Royal George is being redeveloped for condos.
Really? I didn't know that.
Stage 773 off the known as the Theater Building is now a bar and art exhibit. Looking Glass operates in that rent-free space on Michigan Avenue, has put out a SOS, meaning they're in financial trouble. The House Theater of Chicago has gone dark. So have such theater companies as 16th Street Theater, Aston Rep Theater Company, Awkward Pause, Black Button Eyes, Boho Theater Company, Broken Nose, Brown Paper Box, Chicago Theater Works, so on and so forth. All over the city, theaters have been weighing the pros and cons of letting their difficulties be known without looking like they're asking donors to throw money at a lost cause. So what's happened to the theater scene in Chicago? I know this is maybe not something that everybody is particularly compelled by, but I suspect a lot of people are. And even if this isn't your bag, any sophisticated person realizes the arts are an important aspect of life. So, maybe you only go to the Art Institute on occasion, or Museum of Science and Industry, or take your kids to the planetarium or wherever.
Shut Aquarium. Yeah.
But the point is that, these are institutions that anybody who's educated has a knowing appreciation for. Their existence is important, right? Can we start there as a baseline? So if these things go away, you might want to take notice of why that's happening, or if they're greatly diminished. And it also speaks to, which I've said many times before, you look around and you say, well, what exactly am I getting for the premium I pay to live in the city of Chicago? As compared to other communities that, because of their wealth in particular, they can telescope some of the arts, and they can underwrite theater groups and lyric and philharmonics and the like. Even opera houses, places like Sarasota has a little opera house, Sarasota, Florida. Theaters, going back to Chris Jones, it's very interesting because this runs right into content and COVID. And I'm surprised that there's as much honesty here in this piece by Chris Jones as there is. Theaters have become fond of phrases like the audience is not yet back. And blame has also been attached to the purported loss of the theater-going habit during COVID-19. And, the preference for in-home streaming. Yeah, not yet back. We lost our theater-going muscle. Did we? Well, he makes the point. Audiences are very much back for live entertainment. The concert giant Live Nation posted record-breaking revenues of $3.1 billion in the first quarter of this year. That's up 73% from the same time in 2022. We just had the Taylor Swift experience here.
Yeah.
You just had the Bruce Springsteen experience at Wrigley. Were those well attended? Yeah. I understand you're not going to put, 40,000 people in the stands for theater in the round, but relatively speaking, the point is to say that there are people that go to Cubs games or go to concerts that are going out. They're just not going out to the theater. The subscription decline that was noted at Steppenwolf. What else was going on?
Got a text message. Dan and Amy, it's simple. Thugs took over Chicago. That's what happened.
That's part of it. Don't want to go downtown. So I'm not going to keep my subscription because it's not safe. So
risking your life for.
So we're not doing dinner and theater and dinner anymore. Yeah, that's probably part of it too. There's something else though. The actual product. I mean, this requires the sort of self-reflection that is usually lacking, and it is here. Chris Jones writes, recent years have also been a time of great social and cultural change. Oh, you don't say. Demonstrably, audiences have rejected much of the post-pandemic programming, which has focused on ideological similar plays. Now we're getting somewhere. Progressive artists see these shows as essential acts of both diversification and political necessity, but they often have been stymied by the consumption of theater being a stubbornly voluntary act for now. and by attendees not being the audience they hope to reach. This is the most recent offering from Steppenwolf to make my point about the Fox Butterfield effect, about what they don't get. Sanctuary City on stage soon. That's the title of the play, Sanctuary City. 2 teenagers brought to America's children now face an unlikely foe. Unexpected, unreciprocated love. Their friendship is no longer enough, and their adopted country doesn't love them back.
Oh, God.
Pulitzer Prize winner, of course, the Pulitzer Prize winner, Martina Mojak brings to light the sacrifices made by dreamers, lovers, and lifelong friends in this heartbreaking and hopeful Sanctuary City, crossing boundaries, borders, and genres in search of a place to call home. A kinetic and gripping start to our 23-24 season, says Steppenwolf. And I mean, I hate to lampoon the theater because I like it, but I got to tell you, going to Steppenwolf plays long before the pandemic, it was 90% nihilistic crap.
Got a text message, Dan and Amy, I stopped going because of the product. It's all LGBT++ influence.
Well, and it's all the leftist agitprop and general nihilism. I mean, with the exception of modern adaptations of Shakespeare and other great playwrights of, centuries past at places like the Shakespeare Theater. But with Barbara Gaines gone, I don't even know what's there anymore. I don't even pay attention because I'm not going. Writers with what are now riskier points of view have largely been excised from the theater, writes Chris Jones. Oh, really? What's a risky point of view? If Second City lampoons Joe Biden, it's with kid gloves on. A huge change from the apolitical satirical creed central to the theater's original mission. Right. Same reason Saturday Night Live isn't funny anymore. It doesn't have, like, the great comedians that went through Second City of bygone generations. Listen to this statement. To produce the outspoken conservative and household name David Mamet in Chicago now would take courage. To put a David Mamet play on stage would take courage in Chicago. Gosh. Not only is he, Chicago native, he's the greatest living playwright in the country.
Iowa grad.
You can't put David Mamet on and you wonder, why aren't people coming? I saw David Mamet's play Race at Goodman. This has to be a decade ago. It wasn't controversial that a David Mamet play would be brought to the stage in Chicago back then. Fast forward, and you have this statement made by the Tribune theater critic. Yeah, as he said, there's been some cultural change. Recent years have brought a time of great social and cultural change. Indeed, for the better.
Didn't David Mamet have a plaque or something at the hotel on Lincoln Avenue?
Oh, that
got taken down.
Yeah, the coffee shop.
The coffee shop, yes, because he would write some of his works there, and they were so proud of him.
He gave the proprietor some of his original writings because he used to write at this coffee shop, put them on the wall. Then they had to take him down when David, I love David Mamet, outspoken conservative, sort of recently, not really. No. I mean, I wouldn't call it The Secret Knowledge. The Secret Knowledge is sort of a small C conservative read. I mean, and I highly recommend it. This is probably about a decade old too. And Mamet is, I don't know that he's so ideologically conservative. I think he's just a wonderfully insightful cultural and social critic, and he's describing what is and how noxious what is. Like the idea that the greatest living American playwright, couldn't get his plays on the stage in Chicago without some theater executive demonstrating real courage. You serious? Not to mention they're too hip to trying to be hip too. They don't want to deal with the old white hairs in the audience that can afford the tickets. Chris Jones, a rhetorical war has been waged against older audiences and retirees. open-minded and politically liberal, as most of them would claim to be, whose gray hairs have traditionally occupied many seats. Many theaters look past the actual age of their audience, serving up plays about problems that people over 40 typically regard as transient because, as one ages, the head turns to matters of mortality, as Shakespeare well understood. Also, they're mature. And at least even those that are left of center have shed some of the obsessing about nihilistic silliness. Yeah. Younger audiences have proved especially hard to reach, not least because the nonprofit theater can be reluctant to engage with popular culture. I don't think so. I think that's where he's wrong. It's not about engaging with popular culture, trying to be your dad dancing at a wedding. That's exactly the wrong thing to do. Actually, I went to a performance of La Boheme at the Lyric where they did something like that, and it was ridiculous. In the middle of it, they did this was back when the Gangnam Style thing was like a one-hit wonder, and they did like a Gangnam. I mean, it was so off-putting.
It did fall flat too with the audience.
So the art is timeless, including for the young. One of the things that, one of the reasons that you're not appealing to the young is it's content, and also the poor quality of K through 12 education in Chicago and Chicagoland. There's no appreciation for these things. You don't read anything except Ibram Kendi's tomes. So how would you know a David Mamet or a Tennessee Williams? You wouldn't. Not part of the curriculum anymore. We're identitarian indoctrination centers. That's what we do in K through 12 education. So, and then you have people grow up that, I want to be an actor, so I'll go into the arts, whatever, and I'm a dilettante, and then I just produce the same drivel in the context of a play or a manuscript that was fed to me when I was in school. Completely unimaginative. I don't know. I just think this is interesting. So if this is supposed to be somewhat sort of the province of the left, and that's a mistake conservatives make. It shouldn't be. It's not. And these are important cultural institutions. I always talk about civic and cultural institutions. Well, theater and the arts, important cultural institutions. That's part of our common history as well. That's part of learning and appreciation for those things that are beautiful as well. It's not just all electoral politics all the time. You know what I mean? That's not a well-rounded life. But the theaters certainly aren't helping advance well-rounded lives. Ralph and Rantoul, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Another thing that may be contributing to this is that children don't read anymore. Growing up, I recall in the dark ages when being able to select books and buy them through the little buy sheets that used to be circulated at school was fantastic. Children, these young adults these days, have the attention spans of 5-year-olds. They won't sit through something like a play. And even if they do, they won't be thinking about the words and what's said and what it might be saying about, I don't know, some interesting topic that's being examined in between the lines. Children aren't raised to think anymore. They're just shoved all this LGBTQ plus crap, and it's wrecking our young people. It's wrecking them.
Thanks for the call, Ralph. Well, again,
we got to start by getting cell phones out of classrooms. Sorry, no one's doing any work at all because everyone's looking at their phones.
Well, fine, but somebody tell me, did your kid read? Especially if you had a kid go through school anytime recently, did he any Moliere, Shakespeare, Arthur Miller?
They read 1984.
Well, okay, that's a start, but they
don't read.
So, to Ralph's point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wonder why you're hemorrhaging subscribers and audience.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
You want your basement to be dry most of the time? If so, Permaseal is not the company for you. At Permaseal, we believe your basement should be dry all the time, no matter how hard it rains. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer, president of Permaseal. I've heard many homeowners say that their basement only leaks when it rains. Well, you don't worry about your living room or bedroom getting wet, so you should feel the same way about your basement. Call 800-421-SEAL. We offer a free estimate, no haggle pricing, and a price assurance guarantee so you can rest assured you're getting the best value. If you want your basement dry all the time, you know who to call, Permaseal. We've helped over 450,000 homeowners across Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana since 1979 and have an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. 800-421-SEAL. That's 800-421-7325 or visit permaseal.net.
Don't best for and better Permaseal.
Guys, a lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and be sure to visit a provider you can trust. I trust my friends at Low T Center. That's where I get my levels checked and have for the past 8 years. At Low T Center, they make it easy. You walk in, take a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, you'll get your results back in about 25 minutes. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, notice weight gain and loss of muscle mass, these could be signs of low testosterone levels. Low T Center is not your typical doctor's office where you have a long wait. It's concierge medicine exclusively for men. They have affordable and convenient options for treatment, including physician-monitored self-inject treatments that ship directly to you each month, so there's no need to drive to the center for weekly visits. And right now, Low T Center is only $25 to get your T level tested with results back in about 25 minutes. So what are you waiting for? Log on to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Prof sent you. When you do, Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Hey, business owners, are you wondering how to grow your business? Do you need cash flow and a ready source for financing? Well, Signature Bank can help. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that Signature Bank's loan decisions are made locally by a team who knows your name, cares about your business, and is invested in your success. When you need advice about your business or even have a question, Signature Bank is there to help. There are no handoffs or call centers. This is a team that wants to get to know you and your business. That's why Signature Bank in Chicago is my bank. That's right. I'm a customer. When I call, someone picks up the phone on the other end. And with Signature Bank, I can securely bank anywhere, anytime. Reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Call 773-467-5630. That's 773-467-5630. Or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. Signaturebank.bank. Your business could be Signature Bank's next success story. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching. Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel, not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
Starting August 22nd, the U.S. dollar may have new competition from a new global supercurrency backed by Russia and China. And if the dollar plummets, your retirement could follow. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon. I recommend a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get a free info kit on gold by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. I encourage you to act before August 22nd. Text SHELTER to 989898 to get your free information kit on gold now.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, everyone has been talking about this.
We'll talk to former Chicago Police Lieutenant John Garrido about the CPD chase of armed robbery suspects that was called off. Why was it called off? Why do you think? 8:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Nikki Whaley in for Mike Scott.
Good morning. It's 73 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley. The Carter family is continuing to spend time side by side with the former president and first lady. Jimmy Carter has been under hospice care at his home in Plains, Georgia, with his wife Rosalind, and was recently diagnosed with dementia. She recently celebrated her 95th birthday. Their grandson Josh Carter recently told People magazine that it's clear that they're in their final chapter. The Carters are the longest married presidential couple at 77 years. 2 teens are dead following a shooting in unincorporated Glenview. Authorities say that victims were found shot Saturday night on Michael Todd Terrace just west of Milwaukee Avenue. They've been identified as 16-year-old Jose Guzman and 19-year-old Carlos Guzman. One died at the scene while the other died at the hospital. So far, no one is in custody. News is a service of MyPillow. Big news, the MyPillow employees want to thank you by giving you the lowest price in history on their MyPillows. Queen size MyPillow's regular price is $69.98, now only $19.98 with promo code Amy. Visit MyPillow.com and use promo code Amy. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Brandon Tatum sees work ahead for Trump.
MAGA people are going to vote for Trump no matter what. But for other people that's on the fence, in the middle, vacillating, in the general, is when you're going to see a huge effect. If Donald Trump is able to prove his innocence early on, or it appears that he's going to be innocent early on, I think that's going to be a tremendous boost for him.
The Officer Tatum Show, weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you really want to take shots the rest of your life just to lose weight? NJ Diet's typical results are twice as fast as weight loss injections without any of the side effects. Plus, you learn proper portion control and develop healthy eating habits for the rest of your life. By the end of NJ Diet's 40-day program, you will lose 20 to 40 plus pounds, contractually guaranteed. You will lose the weight and keep it off the natural way. NJ Diet uses your hair, saliva, and blood work along with scans to personalize natural solutions and supplements that get your body into the fat-burning zone. Then, NJ Diet uses your DNA info to help you keep the weight off. Locations locally in Skokie and Oakbrook, or available with live online video consultations. Don't take shots the rest of your life. Lose weight quickly the natural way with NJ Diet. Call 855-5-NJ-DIET or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com. That's njdiet.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Are you choosing foods that just keep you going through the day? Or are you choosing foods that keep you going with an abundance of energy?
I did notice a boost in energy. My wife noticed it. I noticed it as I'm driving. Balance of Nature has definitely helped me out.
I discovered Balance of Nature. I noticed energy level much improved, and I could go longer and didn't feel the fatigue.
I've been taking Balance of Nature, and it's definitely given me an energy boost so that I can keep up with the grandkids.
When I tried Balance of Nature, I felt like I had more energy right away. I feel great.
Since I've been taking Balance of Nature, I've been able to relieve myself of the slump and get on with my day. I want to keep living my life with energy, and Balance of Nature helps me do that.
Get consistent, real nutrition in your body and experience the difference for yourself. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak taking a look at the roads, beginning with the inbound Edens. Solid at 25, Lake Cook Road to Montrose, very heavy. Cicero to Montrose. Inbound Kennedy, a little over an hour. O'Hare into the Janeburn interchange. And delays continue along inbound Eisenhower, 1 hour and 20 just to get from 390 into the post office. 55 northbound solid right near Weber to the Veterans Memorial Tollway. And the inbound side of the Stevenson, 55, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. 35 minutes, 95th on in, and it's still very busy along DuSable Lakeshore Drive northbound. right around Bryn Mawr to Hollywood. Also on the Reagan, big delays going eastbound as well. Scattered delays on the other tollways. Traffic is sponsored by Blindster.com. At Blindster.com, they offer over 50 different custom window treatments, including faux wood blinds and shutters, all at prices less than retail. Plus, they'll send you free samples before you buy. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check out your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Less humid and some hazy sun. Our high today 82. Partly cloudy, humid night. Low tonight 70. Partly sunny for tomorrow and the high at 90. A big warm-up coming on Wednesday. Sun, patchy clouds and hot. The high 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Here we go again. Chicago police facing questions after a chase was given of an armed robbery crew late last week, Wednesday actually. And this was on the northwest side. And the police gave chase, and then they were called off the chase. Why? And this armed robbery crew was out and about hitting a lot of people.
Wreaking havoc. They are, 20 places in 14 minutes or something like that? They're out of their minds. Using long guns and, I don't know. They had them right there and they let them go, and people in the neighborhood are furious.
Furious at who, for why, I guess is the question. John Garrido, former Chicago police lieutenant in the 16th District, joins us now. He's also the president of the Garrido Stray Rescue Foundation. GarridoStrayRescue.org is that website. That's where I got my dog.
Yeah.
At the GarridoStrayRescue.org Foundation. So just in the interest of full disclosure.
Thank you.
John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on again.
Morning. So why'd they get called off, and should they have been called off?
So, you never like to Monday morning quarterback, especially for me, for officers, but it's a balancing test. But our department policy has evolved over the years to really, really make it restrictive for officers to chase at all. There's been so many incidents where the chases have ended in horrific traffic accidents where civilians have gotten hurt. So they really lean toward trying not to chase. But it's still they do still give discretion, and they've left it open to it's a balancing test of weighing the need to catch them for with public safety. So if this was happening at 5 o'clock in the afternoon during rush hour, people are getting out of work, kids are home from school and out playing and things like that, then that would definitely be much more likely that you would terminate that chase a lot sooner if the speeds are reaching high speeds or massively reckless driving. In other words, the guy's blowing lights and he's going up on the sidewalk and whatnot. But it could be argued that at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, when nobody's out and the street's pretty clear, that probably be the time to allow a chase to continue, chasing a carload of masked armed.
Well, can you walk us through that night? What happened? Like, where did this crime spree start, and why? Where were they when they called off the chase?
Right. Well, so from what I understand, it was not too far from Devon and Western. It was in the 20th District, a little west of there. And it looks like there was a couple armed robberies previous to that, but they actually captured this on. We have these rooms where we've got cameras all over the districts, and we can actually pick up on them and monitor them. So they were actually able to witness and see these guys out of the car with their masks on, with they had rifles, long guns. So they had a really good description of the vehicle. And then one of the other officers then picked up on that vehicle, and that's how the chase was initiated. I did hear the sergeant came on the air, and we typically, as supervisors, the first thing we ask is how fast are they going. We try to give them more time to hopefully that the chase will wrap up. So we ask several questions: their location, their speed, how are they driving, and whatnot. But ultimately, you can only let it go so long.
Well, why is this a dispatch call rather than the officers that are giving chase? Why is it not their call?
This was a sergeant that terminated it.
Oh, okay, with a sergeant, then a supervisor. Why?
Well, so anybody can terminate, right? The officers themselves can self-terminate, and
Right.
there's certain times when they're supposed to. But it's we have a paramilitary organization. If a supervisor tells you to terminate, you got to terminate. So whenever there is a chase, they immediately notify a supervisor to monitor. And once that supervisor is on the air, that supervisor is in charge. And this particular supervisor made the call and decided to terminate when he did.
Well, what's the Chicago Police Department's written policy on pursuing people on foot or by vehicle?
So, well, they're a little different because the foot pursuit just came out in the last 8 months, I think, or 9 months. But with the vehicle pursuit, there's certain times when you're absolutely not allowed to. If you're driving the paddy wagon, we're not supposed to call it that anymore.
Please.
If you're driving the squadrol.
We don't want to offend anybody.
Don't offend the Irish. Yeah. Oh God. Oh heavens. Yeah, heavens.
So if you're driving a squad roll, they don't want you chasing in that. There's if the vehicle just takes off, or if it's just wanted for theft. So if you run the plate and the vehicle's stolen, and you go to put your lights on and the car takes off, you're prohibited. You are not allowed to chase that vehicle unless you have more.
Good to know.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff we're putting out there that if the bad guys are listening, they might pick up on. But if while during the chase there's if the car hits another car or sideswipes some parked cars or whatnot, there's property damage, you're supposed to terminate. If there's just a variety of minor things that you're not supposed to chase them before. But other than that, like in this case, this one was a case where there were no prohibitions in place. This was strictly the balancing test to just decide if catching them was more important than, or to weigh it with, public safety, just the conditions in the environment. I don't believe it was raining. I don't know. I'd have to look at the weather, but if it was dry, if it's dry and it's, the middle of the night and there's, not a lot of traffic, and not a lot of foot traffic out there, it seems like that would be one, but I don't know everything that was going through that sergeant's mind when he made that call.
Yeah, and police believe the same suspects robbed at least 4 separate times on Wednesday morning, including twice after supervisors called off the pursuit. So, the people who were robbed after he called off the pursuit, I think they'd like to have a conversation about public safety and the balancing test.
Right. And and that's the difficult part. And again, I'm not saying that the sergeant was right or wrong, but the climate today, the way things are, the way the department handles their support or lack of support of supervisors and officers, has made a lot of supervisors gun shy. They're risk averse. So this guy, you let it go a little bit, but they're nobody wants to end up either terminated or going to jail for
Right.
accidentally doing the wrong thing or making the wrong decision. So
all the incentives are to give up the chase because you can't get disciplined if you give up the chase, right?
Correct. Yep, you terminate, and it actually says it right in the policy. Nobody's going to be disciplined if you terminate the chase. Back in the I want to say it was the early 2000s. I was a task lieutenant in the 25th district, and I heard that a chase initiated, and it wasn't my officers; it was another team that was out there. And basically, they intercepted a drug transaction, and the guy had a kilo in the car, and he had a gun in the car, and took off on him. By the time I got involved, it came on the air. I was a lieutenant at the time, so they got onto the Kennedy Expressway or I-90 going west from probably about Central. Well, as it was going west, the guy started throwing cocaine out the window, and I started to debate because they were flying west on 90 and leaving the city limits. But It was July. It was 8 p.m. at night. The roads were dry. There's no cross traffic. There's no pedestrian traffic on 90. So I thought, okay, we'll let it go. So it was roughly right around Schaumburg where we started to, have a scratchy radio. So then that's when I decided to terminate. Well, by the time I did terminate at that point, the officers had already been past that and they lost communication. But they ended up catching the guy in Elgin. Of course, the guy tried to run one of them over, so they ended up shooting him. He survived. He got 7 years in prison. But it was, they tried to suspend me for 2 weeks because of that. Fortunate for me, COPA took 9 years to wrap up their investigation.
What?
9 years.
A lifetime.
9 years it took them to wrap up that investigation, and so I ended up just getting a reprimand. But, it's always a balancing test. You got to figure out what's right, wrong. Another interesting thing with that, when I was out there, I had to call the Cook County State's Attorney's Office because that's where the chase started and all the cocaine was recovered. And they were real reluctant to do anything, and they said they wanted to continue the investigation. When I called, I think it was in Elgin, right there on 90, which is over. I'm not sure if it's Kane County or McHenry County. But when I called that state's attorney, it's the middle of the night. They put me through to him. I tell him what I got, and he's like, charges approved. I said, do you want any paperwork or anything? He's like, I'll send it in the morning. So just the difference in the state's attorney's office is everything.
Yeah. By the way, there is no pedestrian traffic on 90 on the Kennedy usually, except when Father Flagler is shutting it down. So sometimes there is pedestrian traffic, and police have to be noticed about that.
Yeah, that's usually 94.
Yeah.
All right. Well, John, last time we had you on was back in July when that Wicker Park kitten killer was had just turned himself in. What's the latest with him, and is he on electronic monitoring at home?
Yeah, so he's out on electronic monitoring at home with his parents. We just had court a few days ago.
Oh, he needs to be supervised. What he did to those cats,
How old is he?
It's disgusting.
23.
23.
Uh-huh.
And he's a good-looking guy, and you would never think that he would kill 4 tabby cats and then name them Shelby.
Some would say Ted Bundy was also good-looking. I don't know. But, so the case has been transferred to Skokie. So now we're following it from there. The next court date is October 4th, but that's just for discovery, so not a whole lot will go on. But we posted up on our Garrido Stray Rescue Foundation Facebook page. We'll give updates. And we had about 25 people show up in court, and there was another 20 people that were on Zoom. So they know there's a lot of eyes on this, so they're really going to make sure that they cross their T's.
Is he getting help, though? I mean, it was psychotic.
Well, we don't know what they're doing, but he did come into court with a smirk on his face, laughing and joking with his parents as he walked in. So but we had to do everything we could to keep our volunteers from reacting and not saying anything.
That is so sick. And his parents were they were joking around with him or laughing?
Well, we don't know what they were talking about before they walked in the door, but obviously they weren't overly concerned about
God, that makes me think that they're not taking this seriously.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully, hopefully he gets the maximum of whatever they can give him, and they do it per cat, so that way it gives him some more time put away.
He better hope that Amy Jacobson is not on that jury.
I want to be on that jury.
What's your while we have you, I assume you had some interactions with them during your time on the force. What is your optimism level about the new police chief, Larry Snelling?
So Larry is a really nice guy. He was in the academy for a long time as an instructor and then as a supervisor. So a lot of the officers, especially the younger officers coming through the department, know him and like him and respect him. He's a good guy. It's really going to come down to is the mayor are we going to be run from the 5th floor, or are they going to let the police be the police and run the police department? And I'm also curious to see who his number 2 is, who he picks for that first deputy spot. That'll also give us an indication. But I'm hopeful. Every single time there's a change, we're always hopeful, and then usually everything ends up, especially because so many times, well, at least with Rom especially, and with Lightfoot, they micromanage the police department. And when you try to run law enforcement politically, it never works out.
Well, he did kind of stand up to Brandon Johnson because Brandon Johnson wants social workers to respond to domestics. And he said, no, our SWAT team does a really good job, and we should keep that program in place.
Yeah, so again, if he's allowed to run the department, I think he'll do a good job.
John Garrido, former Chicago Police Lieutenant, 16th District, and the president of the Garrido Stray Rescue Foundation, GarridoStrayRescue.org. John, thanks as always.
Hey, thanks for having the show.
Thank you, and he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day. then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, folks. Sebastian Gorka here. Are you worried about investing in the stock market, especially with Joe Biden in office? Do you really trust this economy? What if you could invest in a secure, collateralized portfolio with a high fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? A portfolio where you'll know what each monthly statement will look like with no surprises. Your interest is compounded daily. You're paid monthly, and there are no fees. You can turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. And get this, there is absolutely no loss of principal if you ever need your money back. Just go to InvestYRefi. That's invest, the letter Y, then refi.com, or call 888-YRefi24. You can earn a fixed rate of return of up to 10.25%. Just call 888-YRefi24 or go to InvestYRefi.com and tell them Dr. G sent you.
You can shed that fat, be slimmer for the late summer into fall. No more wearing cover-ups or T-shirts in the pool. NJ Diet will help you the natural way. No shots, no hormones, no surgery. You'll lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40-plus pounds in only 40 days with NJ Diet. They use your hair, saliva, and blood work, along with bioenergetic scans to personalize natural solutions and supplements that get your body into the fat-burning zone so you can finally lose that weight. Then NJ Diet uses DNA info to help you keep it off. Best of all, it's contractually guaranteed. You're fully supervised the entire time to make sure you're burning fat, not just losing water. And you even get Dr. T's personal email and phone number. NJ Diet has locations close by in Skokie and Oak Brook, or is available from home with live online video consultations. Call 855-5NJ-DIET or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com. That's njdiet.com.
Did you know that St. John's Lutheran School in Lombard is the only school in the entire state of Illinois offering the renowned Hillsdale College K-8 curriculum? Attention parents in Lombard, Glen Ellen, Wheaton, Downers Grove, and surrounding areas. Are you searching for an exceptional educational experience for your child? Look no further than St. John's Lutheran K-8 School, where academic excellence meets strong Christian values. At St. John's, our partnership with Hillsdale College ensures that your child receives a rigorous K-8 academic experience. What sets St. John's apart is that we recognize the concerns many parents have about the radical woke agenda infiltrating public schools. That's why we're dedicated to providing a nurturing environment that promotes the Christian faith, traditional values, and critical thinking. The Hillsdale College K-8 curriculum, combined with our focus on our Christian faith and character development, will be a game changer for your child's K-8 education. Visit us online at stjohnslombard.com. Give your child or grandchild the gift of a faith-based Hillsdale College K-8 curriculum-based education. That's stjohnslombard.com.
Are you choosing foods that just keep you going through the day? Or are you choosing foods that keep you going with an abundance of energy?
I did notice a boost in energy. My wife noticed it. I noticed it as I'm driving. Balance of Nature has definitely helped me out.
I discovered Balance of Nature. I noticed energy level much improved, and I could go longer and didn't feel the fatigue.
I've been taking Balance of Nature, and it's definitely given me an energy boost so that I can keep up with the grandkids.
When I tried Balance of Nature, I felt like I had more energy right away. I feel great.
Since I've been taking Balance of Nature, I've been able to relieve myself of this slump and get on with my day. I want to keep living my life with energy, and Balance of Nature helps me do that.
Get consistent, real nutrition in your body and experience the difference for yourself. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low testosterone. Schedule your complete health assessment at Low T Center. They now offer the convenience of monitored, self-inject, at-home testosterone treatments for $150 a month cash pay or covered by most health insurance. If you don't live near Low T Center or you just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy to get started on treatment. Only your first 2 visits are in person. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. There's tainted, there's dirty, and then there's rotten to the core. The latter describes Merrick Garland's appointment of David Weiss as special counsel to investigate Hunter Biden. Weiss is the man who's been investigating Hunter Biden for the last 5 years. He approved the sweetheart plea bargain a federal judge rejected. He ignored Hunter's tax felonies and a felony gun charge. And his investigation was so deficient that whistleblowers charged it was fixed, saying they'd been stopped from asking about Joe Biden and that Biden's team had been tipped off about a search. Under the special counsel statute, the counsel is supposed to come from outside the government. Weiss doesn't. He comes from Delaware, Joe Biden's home state. The goal here is clear. Obstruct the congressional investigation, let more statutes of limitation run, and get past the presidential election. The whole setup is dirtier than a pigsty at an Antifa rally.
Cable news. Noisy, out of touch, on repeat. Tired of all the lookalikes? So are we. Salem News Channel is here to change the game. Streaming 24/7, free on your TV, with the greatest collection of conservative voices. Home to Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Like you, we say what's wrong and what's right. Unfiltered and unapologetic. Salem News Channel. We're the answer to the mainstream media. Learn more at snc.tv. AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, I want to update your texting lingo and make sure you're staying current with the kids. No longer do you use LOL or LMAO.
Yeah, why not?
You don't
I
use
just
that
learned
anymore.
LMAO.
You just learned that?
Yeah, I always go to Justin to help me out.
Well, skip ahead. Justin probably knows this. The proper acronym is now IJBOL. IJBOL. If you want to be current. Or Each Bowl. Yeah. I just burst out laughing. The Gen Zers want their own thing.
All right. Thanks so much for making us part of your morning. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. It is now 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Relentless rain. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. There's flooding in Southern California from the coast to the mountains and deserts from Tropical Storm Hillary, now downgraded to a post-tropical cyclone.
The LA River, normally bone dry, maybe a little stream every once in a while, but now because of this storm and all the inches of rain that have fallen over the last 24 hours, it is a fast-flowing river, and all of that rain and all of that water causing flooding throughout the region, especially in Los Angeles. We're hearing of some power outages as well and flight cancellations. Parking lots are underwater and streets are filling up, making driving not only really difficult but also dangerous.
Fox's Jeff Paul in Los Angeles. There are now 850 people considered unaccounted for in the search for wildfire victims in Hawaii. Governor Josh Green says he expects the confirmed death toll, 114, to go up, with the search moving into a new phase.
On CBS's Face the Nation, he said some remains may never be found.
So at 85% of the land's been covered. Now we go into the larger buildings, which require peeling back some of the floors and structures. That last 15% could take weeks.
President Biden and the First Lady are visiting Maui today to get a first-hand look at the damage and meet with survivors.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. The White House announces